2 questions. 1, how many brands are there in the entire planet? And 2, what is the number 1 fastest growing brand in the known universe?
Fastest growing sport is pickleball.
It is. You are dangerously close to going pro, and I will lose my podcast partner.
Can't tell you fastest growing brand.
Can we go down that path for 1 second since we're way off topic? Padel is the new thing?
Yeah, padel, paddle.
Yeah, I feel like if you're single, padel is, you sound cool. You're much more likely to hook up talking about padel than pickle. Pickle's for married dudes.
It almost feels like padel is like the next evolution of, remember Highlight?
Yes, dude. Highlight was incredible. It was all rigged and was run by the mob.
It was rigged and it showed up on the Miami Vice title credits, right?
Yes, dude. That's how I knew my dad was cool, because he was always like, we got to go to Highlight, son. It's a good dad.
Dude, seriously. Can we get Highlight into our podcast intro, kind of like Miami Vice did?
Fuck yes, we can do it in this one. We can do anything. We're creative dudes.
We need a whole podcast to talk about the virtues of Miami Vice.
Yes. I met Don Johnson once.
Do you know who the director was of Miami Vice first season?
Michael Mann?
Boom.
Oh, nice. I got it?
Oh, yes.
Yes, dude. Nice.
That's killer.
I didn't get it because I knew it. I got it because I knew you like Michael Mann, so I reverse engineered the answer. We're way off topic. How many brands are there in the entire known universe, and what's the number 1 fastest growing brand?
No idea how many brands. Fastest growing brand. That's a tough one. Can I get a hint?
Yeah. The first answer, thanks to our analytics department, there's approximately 50,000 brands around the planet fighting for attention, right? You can use ChatGPT or whatever to create a logo, create a look and feel, to design a product you can manufacture around the world, screw the tariffs, 50,000 of them.
Yep.
The number 1 fastest growing brand in the entire known universe, according to my data, which is wickedly skewed, it's us. Us. Yes.
Amazing. I love it.
It's true. Yep. Percentage-wise basis, we went from nobody giving a shit about this podcast to over 100,000 streams so far. So we're doing pretty well. Yes.
Those bots are really working.
I was going to say, it's not about the content. It's part of the marketing.
It's not the bots. It's about the click farm in China.
Yes. There are tariffs on the click farm now. It's more expensive. We got to hit it hard.
Yep.
Here's why I bring it up. Because I think after, I don't know, what is it, like 6 weeks of doing this and absolutely dominating the podcast space, we have earned a vacation. I bring that up because today we are going to do a deep dive on travel and hospitality. Let's roll the theme song. Let's dive into it. I'm leaving that in. Definitely leaving that in.
3, 2, 1, go!
A few weeks ago, we did a deep dive on the financial services marketplace. And I think the point that we made to open it up was it doesn't necessarily matter if you work in financial services. If you sell a high involvement category, there's a lot to learn from that category. And I think the same is true today. Let's do a deep dive into travel and hospitality. And if you're selling an impulse buy like bubble gum or Skittles, this may not be the podcast for you. But if you're selling a high involvement category where people are passionate about it, even if it's not in travel, there's probably a lot to learn. And I want to take it from the top. Really straightforward question, which is, in the travel and hospitality space, what's the number 1 piece of advice you've got? Like, how do brands win?
The biggest recommendation I have for the travel space is you have to be always on, right? Like, think about the purchase journey. Nobody is booking a trip to Aruba inside of 1 hour, and they go from like, where should I go to buying these? Well, I don't know. Maybe there are a few people, but I can tell you most people take months, and that journey's long. I see so many brands out there who are like, nope, we're going to be in market in this particular season, and this is when we're going to hit them. Like, I think it's just the biggest mistake. You got to be in market all the time. Let me tell you, I am dreaming about where to go on my next vacation a year from when I'm actually going to take it.
Now, you start dreaming while you're on vacation, you're dreaming about the next vacation.
Yes. How many people have saved like Instagram posts into certain folders like, this is all the crap I'm going to do when I go to Thailand for the first time? From where am I going to stay? What beach am I going to see? Where am I going to eat? What hotel am I going to stay at? And and hopefully save up for a business class flight, which, by the way, is incredibly expensive if you're going to bring your family.
That's why you cash in the miles or buy your kids sleeping pills, which I did. 15 years old, little young, but fuck it. Eat the sleeping pill. Let's go.
Yeah, we put our kids in the back for the first time. We're like, we're going to sit up front. You guys are going to be in the back.
Power move. How'd that go over?
Do you ever like sleep on a plane? You finally get to sleep and then you hear the tap on the shoulder and it's your son.
The exact thing you did not want to happen.
No. Didn't you see the rope, son? You're not allowed up here.
So, yeah, man. So when you think about always on, I got to print it out here. I mean, the data supports it, right? Which is once people decide they're going on vacation, leave alone, to your point, the months, if not the perpetuity of just dreaming about it. They spend up to 20 hours researching. They spend 45 days just in the inspiration stage that they're consciously aware of. They consume 277 pages of content. Virtually all of them, it's 89%, are consciously aware that they're using social media for it. And this one kind of blew my mind. 74%. I thought this was high. 3 out of 4 are actually actively posting travel information, travel advice, or at least travel photos up on social media. So your point about always on really is congruent with what we know about the audience, which is, it reminds me of sports marketing, which is another place where we do a lot of work, which is the audience is insatiable. There's literally never enough content to fully satisfy their needs. So always on is critical, but can you unpack that? Like, what does it mean to be an always on brand?
Oh, I mean, once you become like a brand champion of a particular brand, like you crave their content, even if it's like tangential to the travel industry, right? Like the Away brand, which came out of nowhere to start to dominate the luggage space. And not just about products, but stories about travel, about what it means to somebody to travel, whether it's an influencer, creator, or a celeb, to all the functional content that they put out. But you are constantly reminded why Away should be your companion, right, on travel. Because they're bringing you basically destination marketing strategies, but wrapped into a product, like a piece of luggage.
What does that mean? Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. You've got, destination marketing isn't just about the hotel, right? It's the entire experience, right, that you go on. And Away has figured out how to highlight different destinations, different creators, different people, right? And really romance the joy of travel. I mean, look, we all save up all year long to go on that one trip so we can become basically somebody else. We travel in our maybe a business class seat. We put our sunglasses on when we arrive at the hotel to check in. Like, look at me. I'm part of White Lotus cast.
I'm so relaxed. I'm always this relaxed.
Yeah, you start drinking at 9 a.m. That's how you stay relaxed. But yes, there's a never-ending thirst for content, especially when it comes to category like travel, right? Like, not every category can claim that. Travel, by far and away. Like, we worked for Wyndham, and I remember we got stats from Meta when we met. We would meet with them every week. And what we learned from Meta is that travel had more followers per customer than any other category. So if I'm a customer and you would think, oh, I'm a millennial and I'm into hair and makeup, you would think I would follow a lot of creators. The travel category blew it out of the water, like far and away.
Which is crazy, right? You've got, to your point, you got automotive, fitness, money making, mindfulness. These are all crazy passion categories, and travel crushes them all.
100%. I think it talks about the thirst for the content, but also the power of creators. Travel means different things to different people. So one segment, it might mean, I'm about eco travel. In another segment, it could be about luxury. In another segment, it could be about culture. How do you speak to all of them? Creators are a great way to hit different audiences, right? With using the same brand, but different interpretations of what that experience looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a big shift for a lot of brands. Is it's not just moving away from that one big campaign you develop when you're ready, as you talk about, to always on, but it's also recognizing that the audience isn't monolithic, right? Even within a household, there's different personas. You've got your thrill seekers, your chill seekers, your culture cravers, your memory makers, right? All these different categories of people are looking for very specific information. And I think to your point, creators are a powerful way to deliver it because now you've got that unique, authentic, I hate to use that word, but it truly is an authentic voice, meaning the person who's telling the story about that hotel property, that airline, that beach actually has something similar to you, right? It's a little bit more powerful than it just coming from the brand because they've got their brand voice, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's all you're looking for, which is that monolithic voice coming from the brand.
You know who does this really well? Is Herschel Supply. They make bags, they make luggage. They've been around for quite a while. If you go up on their Instagram, and I always tell marketers, don't go to the posts, go to the reels, right? Because the reels actually are more inclined, one, to get paid media behind them, but two, it's just a better canvas for telling a story. And usually that's where brands are putting their effort. You go into the reels and you'll see that they've taken influencers and what they've stopped, basically they moved away from, hey, I'm Jim and I love my Herschel bag, right? Let me walk you through what it is. They don't do any of that. They give you a behind the scenes, authentic, raw look at what it's like, let's say, to travel with a member of a band, right? And the band is up and coming, fairly well known, and you see everything from like I have to sleep overnight in the airport and I'm resting, I'm going to sleep on my Herschel bag, to I got the van and we're traveling to some crazy ass podunk Duke joint where I'm going to go and play that night. Like, it is so unpolished but beautiful that you see, like, if you look at the posts and you see the engagement is 10x what it is on the other posts. So I think if you can tell really authentic stories, people will sit around and they will listen and they love them. It takes them a place that they can't get to behind their desk.
So in that example, it's Herschel is paying for the content. It shows up in Herschel's channels, but they're using a creator, which seems to be, in this example, at least leaning a little bit into adventure, which jives well with your persona of travel.
100%. Yes. It's beautiful. It's just a different way to use creators that I think even the creator likes and will get behind, because it doesn't feel like an ad. It actually feels more like a sizzle reel or a photo or video dump from a weekend of travel, put to beautiful music, some narrative, and the product's integrated into it. And people are eating it up.
It's funny that you say that. Focus group of one, but I think we could do some more formal research that supports this, which is, in a lot of ways, I think if something felt really like an ad, it would be kind of counterproductive, right? Like beautiful Mount Airy Lodge. Remember we grew up on that shit in the Northeast? Like, they would feel like, wait a second, you need to grow your demand to the point where it's almost like a direct response ad. Like, that's not for me. I don't want to be there, right? But when they're inspiring you in some way, right? Away brand might be a little bit about sophistication. To your point with Herschel, it might be a little bit more about adventure. It pulls you in instead of pushes you in. And I think in this day and age, nobody wants to be pushed into buying anything, leave alone travel.
There's a great ad that launched this week, really timely. It's Nike put out this ad, the trial of Luka Doncic. Am I saying the word right?
Close enough. We're marketer guys. We're fake sports fans.
All right, fair enough. So literally this week, Nike drops this ad. Nike and Luka Doncic. It's called The Trial of Luka Doncic. It is 7 minutes long. And can I read you some of the comments that have just dropped in the last week? Genuinely one of the best ads I've seen. Didn't feel like an ad, but they weren't quiet about it being one either. Nicely done. Here's another one. As a 4-year-long premium YouTube payer, meaning they don't watch ads, I happily watch the 7-minute ad. I mean, imagine having millions of people voluntarily watch a 7-minute ad for new shoes. Bravo, Nike, bravo, Luka. Like, people are going bonkers over this, and the storytelling is amazing. It is funny. It is heartfelt. Like, I think this is an eye-opening experience, I think, for many brand marketers who are going to look at this and go, shit, okay, it worked. How do I sell this in to my leadership team? I mean, that's the age-old question, right? I want to do more brand marketing and more storytelling. Can somebody please show me the way? And I think Nike has done it, obviously with a big budget, but amazing job.
Big budget, some paid media behind it, but I guarantee it's less than a 30-second spot. 30-second spot during any playoffs, like by the time you run it a few times, millions of dollars minimum, right? And I think the big point you're making is create great content, people will watch long form. This Nike might be out of the category of travel that we're talking about, but where can you find an audience more ready, willing, and able to dive into long form? And it's not only about long form, is your point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of snackable content that it'll show up in social media or wherever. But if you invest in long form content, you've got the ability to really get people to engage and then champion the hell out of it. Because I think those comments are representative of a consumer behavior, which is people talking about it or copying and pasting the link and sending it over to their friends. That's the power of great content.
That's it. If it's good, I'll watch it. I actually think it's like the new way people are going to consume episodic stories. It's 7-minute chunks. I know they tried this like 5 years ago. I think there was a whole like YouTube competitor that was all about 7-minute series. I just think they went about it wrong. They didn't actually do it for the love of the narrative. They did it for the love of the format.
Yeah. It was Geffen and those guys, wasn't it? It was all the DreamWorks dude.
It was the DreamWorks people. That's right. It was all about the format. And really what it is, it's all about the storytelling. And I think they missed that. And I think Nike hit it right on the head.
It's a huge point. It's all about the storytelling. Unpack this concept of always on just a little bit deeper, because you dove into social media. Is always on synonymous with social media marketing, or is there more to always on marketing?
No, I think anytime you can get your brand in front of somebody on a regular cadence, right, I think is a win. So it could be any channel. Doesn't matter, right? Could be CRM, could be SMS, could be social. But yes, I think social dominates 100%. It also gives you the ability to create different content for different audiences. Unlike, let's say, above the line TV, where you're really creating one size fits all ad, right? That's supposed to hit all your audiences. So I think that's really big. Also, you got to create content at scale, right? Like we've talked about it. It's too easy for anybody to skip over a highly produced ad, not because it's highly produced, although yes, that's part of it. But it also probably hurts like hell when you spend $3 million, right, on your big campaign and somebody basically ignored it inside of a second. So like content at scale, volume of content, learning what works and what doesn't, I think it's paramount, right? Like campaigns, they launch, they go away. There's no time to optimize the messaging. With always on, like literally you could take a product line and you could evolve the messaging over the next year and test and learn and figure out what works. I think for travel, because there's such an insatiable appetite for the content, why would you not be always on? Like I would shift money from campaigns, seasonal campaigns into an always on strategy, and I will tackle categories that are evergreen.
Yeah, look, I think if I was a CMO, I'd go 100% in on that strategy. I wouldn't test into it. I wouldn't be like, well, I'm going to still lean into TV. First of all, if you're like Vegas or some big region, yeah, TV advertising would work. TV, OTT, CTV, whatever. But if you're an individual property, like a hotel or an island, what is the subconscious message that the audience is getting? Which is A, there's not much demand, so I'm going to beg you in a 30-second spot. Or B, this place is totally overcrowded because you're hitting a mass market. As opposed to the mindset of I'm on social, or I'm on your email list, or I'm up on your website, where I'm literally raising my hand and saying, I'm ready to engage. I'm looking for this information. Romance me. Option one, don't romance me. I'm trying to watch a ball game. And when you do romance me, I don't want to hear it. Option two is I'm telling you exactly what I'm looking for.
And Meta knows this, right? Like they are, they introduced suggested posts about a year ago. And I thought I did, this is brilliant because it gets marketers away from how many followers do I have? I need more followers. No, if your content's good enough, Meta will seek it out and they will serve it to people as suggested posts that you don't have to pay for. Right? That you can literally, if your content's good, it will come up if it's relevant to me. So you're on Instagram, you see these posts. I am probably following 1 out of every 5 or 6 that I get suggested, right? And I'm exploring their content. So great content will equate to great reach on this platform, but it has to be good and it has to be engaging. Otherwise, it's gone.
And it has to be consistent. Because if you think you can go viral and then all of a sudden you can put in heads and beds, it's not going to work, right? You have to be all year round, by definition, always on. And one of the reasons that Zuckerberg is one of the richest people on the planet is he recognizes that to keep people on his platforms, it has to be fresh, right? Nobody wants to watch the State Farm ad 9 times in a row. And I think one of the data points you've introduced me to is once somebody's seen the same post 4 times, the engagement drops off a cliff. It literally drops 45% by the time it gets to the 5th post. So the point is to keep people engaged, they're only going to deliver fresh content, which, by the way, is exactly what the audience wants, which is give me fresh content. Don't repeat the same crap over and over and over again. So to be consistent with the technology platform, how it works, and consistent with what the audience wants, you have to turn yourself into a publisher. You have to be creating massive amounts of content to be always on.
And it's not just us saying that, like with our data, it's Meta saying that, right? Meta has come to us for all of our clients. And like, we need big, new creative swings every 8 to 12 weeks because that's how the algorithm is optimized. And if you don't want to introduce big new creative, that's fine. We're not going to serve your ad as much to the right audiences because there's the experience degrades for the user. Right. So if I see the same ad every time I open up my Instagram, that's not a great experience. So they're like, fuck it, we're not going to serve these ads. So now we have to create big new creative swings on a regular cadence. Right. And that's okay. Because I actually think it benefits not just the optimization of the algorithm, but if it benefits the brand, like you're able to test into all these new formats, all of these new, let's say, segments or personas that you may have, and you can learn along the way. So like, yes, there's a bigger level of effort, but I think the payoff is well worth it.
And how do we make sure as a brand in the travel space, we're not just stuck in one part of the funnel or one part of the journey? Meaning if we're always on, how do we make sure that we're not just getting people stuck in their dreaming phase?
Everything a marketer does, everything we do is intentional. Right. So we look at where they are, let's say, in a particular phase of the customer journey. Really critical to understand what is the role of the brand at that point. What am I supposed to introduce you to more inspirational content? Because maybe you're not ready to decide where you're going to go. Or am I literally supposed to talk about the functional reasons to believe around my hotel or hotel rooms? And I think being really intentional with every word and everything you test enables you to create really best of breed content, right, for each phase that ignites action. Right. It basically every ad that we put out, every word that we use, every CTA, every image is all there to ignite action. And that action could be, yes, it could be to book or buy, but usually it's to move you to the next phase of the customer journey. Right. Where instead of I'm looking for inspiration, I'm looking to evaluate hotels. Right. I'm looking to compare hotels, or I've settled on a hotel. I'm looking to explore this single hotel and I need to know everything there is about it. Like we do this right now for Universal, where we have built 5 journey maps for the 5 different personas. And we are getting into the nitty gritty content of functionally, what does a mom from Kansas need to know when traveling during the winter that she needs to pack for this trip? Down to whether it's raincoats, do I need sunscreen? Do I not? Do I need a change? How many changes of clothes do I need because of the humidity? This level of detail is, I think, incredibly important that many brands overlook. You can help someone down the funnel if you give them the information that they need. Like, how far is the hotel in walking distance to the park if I'm going to Universal Orlando? Like, is it a 5-minute? Is it 10-minute? Because I'm coming with my grandparents, right? And they can't walk that far because multi-generational travel is huge. And so these little things we're able to pick up inside of, in-depth interviews or quantitative research where we uncover these unmet needs and then we answer them with quick, snackable content that can be found either in social or on the website.
I love these two phrases you're using, intentional and igniting action, right? Every single word, every single pixel is thought through because the old world of advertising was, can I just get you to pay attention for 30 seconds, right? Or can I change the way you think a little bit? But the new world is, can we ignite action? And it doesn't mean I'm taking you from dreaming to booking. That's unrealistic. But can I give you the information and the calls to action that slowly but surely pull you along your journey? And the other part of it is, how do we integrate data into that creative process? Because to your point, telling people how to pack, telling people how to get grandpa to the hotel, those are important things, but it only works when you're fully integrating the data to know exactly when to deliver it. And nobody's winning an award for that, but that ultimately might be the one thing that gets somebody over the hump and gets them to convert. Or you can take that same piece of content and fundamentally start changing the revenue model, shifting it from on average, people are staying 3.4 days to on average, they're staying 4.2 days. And that is a major shift at the corporate level when you're talking about millions and millions of guests a year.
Yeah. And it's been really hard to do. Like, if you're a marketer, you've been relegated to just looking at media stats, metrics, and reports, click-through rate, cost per acquisition. But there's a whole new crop of creative analytic tools that have come out in the last couple of years to help support and optimize how creative goes to market, what we learned from it, and then how could we optimize and change it and rev on it later. So for example, you think about something like hook rate. So what is the propensity for somebody to watch my ad for more than 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds? What was in that hook rate? What did I say? What did I show, right? That enabled somebody to get over that. So we never had access to that type of data, but now we do. So there's brands like Motion, there's brands like Allison.ai, where you literally can extract and then you can tabulate and query your AI platform to figure out what are all the ads that had this RTB in it, had the highest hook rate, right, for this particular month or this season in this region. And I can look and say, okay, these are the 3 ads that had the best hook rate. They had better hook rates than the actual overall winners that had a better, lower cost per acquisition. But I can take the learnings from those hook rates and then integrate it into my next wave of creative, and I can beat my last benchmark performer, right? Because I'm learning from maybe ads that didn't actually perform well in the overall CPA, but I'm learning that the hook rates were amazing, and I'm going to integrate that into my next wave. You can't get that from traditional media metrics.
So that's fascinating, right? So when you tie it all together, when you think about this world of always on and the massive amounts of content to always stay fresh, now your point is you're fueling the creative process through data. Here's my question. How do you actually get a creative team, which basically set out after high school or college or whatever to say, the last thing I want to do is get involved in data and analytics. I want to be a creative person. How do you get them to integrate data into their thinking?
At QUESTUS, we use the analytics team, right? Other brands might call them creative strategists. They are pouring through the data that comes out of these creative analytic platforms. And you're able to extract the exact insights, right, to populate into your next brief. So the creative team shouldn't have to come through this, but they really need to understand, and actually they love to know what worked the last time we went out. And oftentimes creative teams have no idea what worked in the last wave of creative or the last campaign or the last promotion. They're just not given that data, or they're given it in an aggregate sense. Like, here's all the ads you ran and here's the overall click-through rate, or here's the overall cost per acquisition. We can distill that down and we can now show creatives exactly what worked and inside a particular ad. That is incredibly powerful, and it's the exact information that they want, and it's not too much, right? Like we always say, most brands, they don't have a data problem, right? They've got a strategy problem, right? They have tons of data, but nobody's actually taken the data and parsed it out to actually meaningful insights into what's working and what's not, and then how to then hypothesize what should my next wave of creative be.
That's exactly right, right? I think we've all seen it, and anybody who's gotten this deep into this podcast has seen it their entire career, which is there's just way too much information out there. Whenever I look at a media report, and now to your point, it's not a media report, it's creative analytics, there tends to be information overload. And half the time, it's like, dude, this isn't a report. This isn't insights. This isn't action. It's basically an appendix. Can you take all of this information, put it into the back, and just tell me what to do, right? Now, people are buying more into the notion of the way to leverage analytics most effectively is to turn it into a story. But I think that's a bit of a misnomer because people think it's like there was a dark and stormy night. F that, man. A great story with data and analytics is strip it all out. Get to the point, know your audience. I'm a creative person. I love telling stories. I love making videos. I love developing a great hook that captures people's attention. Just tell me the one or two pieces of information that I need to know, or tie 2 or 3 data points into a singular insight. That singular insight might be hit the thrill seekers more often, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but let's not have the information overload, and God damn it, let's get away from the 80-page PowerPoint decks. Let me try to put a bow on this because I think you've given us some great guidance. And if I try to summarize it, it's recognizing that A, the audience has an insatiable need for content. They spend months, hours in hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of content trying to dream about their vacation and plan their next trip. And because of that, we need to start competing in an always-on environment. We're not going to get by with one big campaign. It sounds pretty straightforward, putting the right content in the right place at the right time, but it really does take a fundamental shift in the systems, the processes, in the investments. The third thing is it takes a massive amount of content. There's absolutely no way a brand can succeed simply by leaning on great paid media. Nobody wants the same message repeated over and over and over again. They want you to show up all throughout the journey in the key channels: websites, social, CRM, apps, short form, long form. And ultimately, to really bring it to fruition, brands need to create a culture that breaks down that historical silo that exists between data and analytics and creativity. Because brands are not going to get by based upon one big message. They need to leverage the data and analytics to understand what does the audience want, how are they responding to it, and how do we optimize it. And I think that's all we've got for today. So thanks everyone for watching Brand Champions.
Brand Champions is a QUESTUS production. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and review wherever you tune in. You can submit mailbag questions to brandchampions@questus.com.